Hello and welcome to Bookmark Chronicles. Today I'm going to review Mockingjay, the third book in the Hunger Games trilogy. I've finally made it to the end and I can finally get ready to read the prequel. If you don't already know, in Mockingjay, Katniss wakes up in District 13. She finds out that District 12 no longer exists and that Peeta has been taken captive by the Capitol. In Catching Fire, she started to hear rumors about a rebellion, and now she knows for a fact that the rumors are true and that she has been selected to be the face of the rebellion, in other words, the Mockingjay. While Katniss is hesitant when she's deciding if she wants to partake in this or not, she decides to do it no matter what the cost may be. I'm sure it's no surprise to anyone, but I love this just as much as I love the other two books. This one's probably my least favorite, not because I wasn't satisfied with the ending or that I didn't like the story. I just think that maybe all of the war talk and the training was not really my thing, so I wasn't as excited about this one. However, I was never bored while I was reading it, and I am still satisfied with the ending. I think I'd give this one a 3.5 out of 5. I am thinking about redoing my rating system, but for now, we'll just stick with that. Like I said, I did love it, just not my favorite out of the three. If you have not yet read Mockingjay and don't want me to spoil anything for you, this is your official spoiler warning. I'm about to get into the plot, the characters, and my thoughts about the ending. So as always, I'll start with Prim. I think that she has been forced to grow up very fast in a very short amount of time. She is definitely not just a little girl anymore. She's very strong. She's super independent. She's been promoted to doctor. And one of my favorite scenes with her was when she kind of tells off Plutarch and is like, no, I'm going to stay in the room. I get to hear the decisions that you're making. I thought that was a really good scene, and I like to see her standing her ground. I was not happy with how her story ended, and I know that Coin has her reasons. It's not okay. Not okay. Do not approve. Prime should have lived, but I'll talk a little bit more about that when I start talking about Coin. Next is Madge. In the beginning of the book, when Katniss is in 13 and she's up and about, she notices that she hasn't seen Madge. She thought that maybe her father being the mayor of 12 would mean that they had been warned ahead of time. Unfortunately, we find out at the end that her entire family died when 12 was bombed and they found their bodies after the fact. I also wanted to mention Bonnie and Twill here. When Katniss ran into them in Catching Fire, they were on their way to 13. But we find out that they never made it, and it's just assumed that they died in the woods. I was a little disappointed. I thought maybe she'd have more people on her side in 13, but unfortunately not. Next is Effie. In the last couple of reviews, I mentioned that I felt like Effie wasn't as important as I remember her being. And of course it is because in the movies, Mockingjay Part 1 and 2, they made Effie more central to the plot, which I appreciate. She wasn't in 13, and later on we find out that she was captured in the Capitol. She does make an appearance, but we never really find out what happened to her exactly or where she's been all that time. And Katniss mentions that she's still very colorful and has her wigs, but she's not as shiny as she remembers, but we don't really know anything there. Next is Boggs, another character that I love. I especially love the actor that plays him in the movies. I was not happy when he died because I feel like he's one of the few people that genuinely cares about Katniss's well-being. Plutarch and Coin only care about what she can produce and how she's valuable in terms of the rebellion. So I really appreciated Boggs as a character because I really think that Katniss needed someone on her side. President Coin. I don't like her, but I will say that I do appreciate that she is a very get to business type of person, no fluff. However, her intentions were awful. Basically, she just wanted power. Also, District 13 has been just sitting and watching for the past 175 years. I know that Coin hasn't been alive that long, but for the lead up to the rebellion, she basically was just like cool with watching it happen, letting the Capitol and the districts run each other into the ground so that she could come in and take over. At the end of the day, all she wanted was power, and I just don't like that about her. I also don't like that she was okay with murdering the Capitol children, and she is the reason that Prim is dead. I don't blame Katniss for killing her. I probably would have done the same thing if I had found out, so I'm glad she's dead. One thing that I've noticed is that the movies really played down the PTSD that we see from all of the victors. They focus mainly on Katniss, a little bit on Finnick and Peeta, but that is nowhere near the scope of how much the victors are suffering, whether they made it to District 13 or they were captured in the Capitol. So I think it's really important to note that all of the victors are suffering in different ways. With Finnick in particular, because he's one of the few that made it to District 13, in the movies he seems like he's mostly fine. Like, he does have the rope that he ties over and over again, but otherwise we don't really see any other symptoms from him. We don't know that he hasn't really talked to anybody and that he kind of blanks out a lot. I'm really glad that he was reunited with Annie, but I was not happy that he died, not only because I like him as a character, but also because I feel like he was a very core part to Katniss recovering. I would go ahead and say that Joanna was equally important. She is still kind of a bitch, but she's also dealing with a lot of the same things that the other victors are. And the fact that when she had her like one-on-one training session at the block and she ended up back in the hospital, I feel like that's really important because in the movie we know that she's not on the mission to the Capitol, but we don't really know why. They portrayed it as she decided to stay behind, but the reasoning behind it is actually because she was hospitalized again. I also really like that we see more of a friendship between her and Katniss, especially since Joanna doesn't have anybody. She mentioned in the last book that there's no one left for the Capitol to hurt. They can't hurt her anymore because there's no one left that she loves. I think that her friendship with Katniss and Finnick kind of has this found family sort of vibe. Next is Peeta. By now you already know that I love him, so it was really hard to see him struggling in this one. Obviously, he had been brutally tortured in the Capitol, and when he's rescued and brought back to 13, he is really struggling trying to figure out what's real and what's not because of the way they hijacked his memories of Katniss. I am glad that the two of them end up together, and I feel like with everything that Katniss has been through at this point, it kind of makes sense that it took so long. Do I think she could have gotten there in the first two books? Yes, but there were a lot of other things going on, so I get it. At the end of the day, Katniss and Peeta, we stand. As always, I love Katniss. I think she's a fantastic character. I do appreciate that she is a very strong, very independent female character, but we also see her struggle. With everything that she's been through, there's no way that she would have just been able to brush that off. So I feel like her journey and the hiding and kind of just like wandering around aimlessly, I feel like it makes sense, and she's still having the nightmares that we've seen her have for all this time. Even at the end, she says that as an adult, she is still having these nightmares. And I think it's important to keep in mind how PTSD works and how long it may take to recover from certain things, if you even are able to recover. So I'm not skipping Gale, but I have so many things to say, and I'm gonna try to run through them quickly because y'all know that I hate Gale with a burning passion. And if you follow me on Twitter, you know that as I'm reading these books, I feel like the further into the series we go, the worse Gale gets. And in this book, he is the absolute worst. I even have a list of all the things that he did that pissed me off. Like, I didn't expect to do this, but there were so many instances. So the first one, and this is kind of small, but when Katniss finds her prep team, like, locked up as if they're prisoners and in awful conditions, Gale gets mad at her for protecting them, and I don't understand why. Like, yeah, they're from the Capitol, yeah, they're fucking idiots, but they didn't deserve the way that they were being treated. Like, what are you mad about? Why are you mad that Katniss is a decent person? I don't understand. Then there's the part where Finnick and Katniss is in the hospital, so they're watching from her hospital bed, but they see one of the interviews that Peeta is doing, but he's obviously been hurt and looks a lot worse than he did in the last interview. So they act like they didn't see it, but then all of command just pretends that it doesn't happen because they're afraid it'll set Katniss off. So Katniss approaches Gale about it, and he has the audacity to be mad. You're her best friend. You're the one keeping things from her. How are you mad? How are you mad? She didn't lie to you. She's not keeping things from you. I mentioned this a little bit in my last review about how Gale evokes emotion from her by being in pain. And in this one, He says certain things that he knows will make Katniss kiss him, and then complains about her kissing him despite the fact that it's exactly what he wanted. But he's like, oh, it doesn't count, da 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 da. Then why the fuck did you do it? Why'd you make her do it? Because you knew she was gonna do it. What's the point? And then he says that being in pain is the only way that he can get her attention. First and foremost, if we're honest, Gale has never not had Katniss's attention. He's always been that one person in her life that she feels like she can depend on. He's just jealous of Peeta, and it doesn't even really make sense. And at this point in the story, with everything that's fucking going on, the fact that she is leading a rebellion, that the Capitol wants her dead, that all of the victors are still trapped in the Capitol, this isn't about you. None of this is about you. Now is not the time for you to be a bitch and complain about these things. The only time that I think I didn't hate Gale throughout this was when he took the time to grab all of Katniss and her family's belongings from their compartment when they were going to lockdown. But that's it. Like, that's not even really a redeeming moment for him, because he just continues to get worse after that. So then when Katniss is stationed in District 2, because it's the last district that they need to take over in order to get to the capital, at first Gale isn't there. When he arrives, what does he do? Immediately start complaining about how he can't compete with Peeta. But then when Katniss starts asking him questions and how many girls he's kissed, it's too many to remember. So it's fine that you've been out here kissing whoever, whenever, but Katniss has literally kissed one person, and most of the time it was just to keep herself alive, and you have the audacity to be mad. Another part is after Katniss gets shot and she's in the hospital, Gale comes to see her, and after 2 seconds, he starts an argument with her because she doesn't agree with killing innocent people. How do you get mad at something like that? Katniss is not obligated to agree with everything that you believe. She's allowed to have her own opinions. And for you to start an argument with her while she's laid up in the hospital, fucking selfish. This part in particular pissed me off. The day that Katniss is ready to execute President Snow, when she sees Gale, she asks him, was it your bomb? Because remember, Gale and Beetee are the ones who came up with the idea to have a bomb go off, people think it's safe, and then set off another bomb, right? And that's what happened when Prim was killed. So she asked, was it your bomb? And he says, does it matter? Bitch, my little sister is dead. Yes, it fucking matters. What kind of question is that? So then after that, he basically says, protecting your family is the only thing I had going for me. Whatever the fuck that's supposed to mean. And after that, he basically abandons her and their friendship. Trash. Straight fucking trash. You abandoned your longest friendship simply because you could not have a relationship with her? Who does that? And also, all of the things that he's done leading up to this point, all the times that he complains, picks the absolute wrong moment, is fucking manipulative as hell. Especially the, oh, I can never get your attention, you only pay attention to me when I'm in pain. All of it's bullshit. I fucking hate Gale. Alright, I'm done ranting about Gale. Anyway, so Katniss, when she's supposed to assassinate President Snow, she ends up killing Coin anyway, and then Snow ends up dying somehow, and they're not sure exactly how, if he choked to death or was trampled by the crowd. But either way, both of them are dead, and I believe it was the leader of District 8 who ends up being president. I really like her, so I feel like that's a good turn of events. Katniss and Haymitch return home. One thing that I didn't like is that Katniss's mother did not say goodbye to her, and I can understand why she doesn't want to go back to 12, but this is the last living member of your family and you're not even gonna say goodbye? That just really rubbed me the wrong way. I don't know, I didn't like that. Eventually Peeta also comes back. He and Katniss start getting close again, and eventually they end up together, and in the epilogue they have children. While I love Katniss and Peeta, I was not happy with the children part because it was very, very clear in the other 2 books that Katniss said she never wanted children. She said it multiple times. And in the epilogue, it says that it took her 15 years to agree to have children. Here's my issue with that. As a woman who does not want children, I've received so much fucking hate for a choice that I've made on my own behalf that other people have absolutely nothing to do with. And I feel like a lot of times in media, when a woman says she doesn't want kids, they always make her change her mind as if it is the only option. Women are not obligated to have children. Men are not entitled to children. And the fact that the way that it was written made it seem like she only agreed to have kids because PETA wanted them. No, I don't like it. Disagree. That part kind of made me hate the ending, but it is what it is. And it's fictional, but in real life that shit happens a lot, so I hate it. I fucking hate it. I am finally ready to read A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Hopefully I can get through that pretty quickly. I'm interested to learn more about President Snow and how he rose to power. Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. I am excited afterwards to watch some of the other reviews that booktubers have posted. I've held off because I didn't want to spoil anything and because I didn't want to have any preconceived notions. But if you have read it, let me know what you thought, and hopefully I'll have a review up for that soon. That's all I have for you today. I'll see you in the next video.